That's what I think. Okay, so we're going to be talking today about adding pictures and shapes to a worksheet. So we'll do that for a little bit, just to cover off the main things, but we're not going to actually go through any of the activities, or I'm not going to lead you through those. The files and the slides are all uploaded to the team site, so it's one of those things that rather than you being bored with me walking you through these, you're all more than capable of doing this far quicker and reading it and doing the activities independently than me going through. And then there'll be time at the end for anyone to ask or to share any reports or structures and things that you've got or problems that you've got with the data set that I've given, and to work through that. Don't worry, whatever stage you're at, feel free to just upload that at the end so that we can see. So I don't want people spending hours and hours on this, because the bootcamp is a 10 till 12 session, but if you're enjoying it and want to get stuck in, you know, that's up to you. But I don't want anyone working over the weekend on this or anything. Just to put in context, next week we're due to have Steve starting on Monday for the 10 to 12 session, and then carrying on. So he's going to be jumping into the Microsoft AI material, and we should very soon have everyone all registered with BCU email addresses, which means that all the practice material and the exams can be booked and things for all of that. But Steve has got time allotted for refresher sessions on the cloud and on this Excel if we need it as well. But I think it seems everyone's coping really well with the material. So unless you let me know otherwise, if you need me to go back over anything that Sasan's done or that I've covered, then I'm more than happy. But otherwise, I think we're all in a good place. So pictures and shapes. So inserting pictures as the objectives, adding shapes, lines, text boxes, and word art, formatting the graphics, and adding graphic enhancements, and then adding alternative text to pictures. So Excel contains a robust set of tools for turning data into charts, turning concepts and processes into diagrams, adding photos, shapes, and other drawn content, just like any Microsoft application. So in this lesson, we'll focus on diagrams, images, shapes, and text-based graphics like word art. In particular, we're going to be focusing on the Insert tab and the right-hand side of this. So there's some text illustrations aspects, but mostly it's the text group and text buttons and things. So adding photos is really easy in Excel. A graphic is an art-related object, such as a drawing, image, or shape. Okay. Now, images come in all sorts of different types of file formats. Has anyone heard any suggestions, or anyone heard of different file types or file extensions, as we call them, for an image or a picture?
PNG, JPEG.
Okay, PNG, JPEG. Yeah. Does anyone know what the practical difference is between a PNG and a JPEG?
No, but is it like one is pictures and one is for images?
Kind of, yeah. So JPEG is better generally for pictures. PNG is better for just static images generally. And the reason that PNG is better suited for images, and it has this really nice property, that JPEGs have different encoding for every color, so that when, no matter what device you open a JPEG on and look at that picture, it looks the same, or it reads the colors the same. A PNG has this little nifty trick in it, so that it reads the colors the same unless it's white, and it just makes white see-through or blank. So if you've got a picture as a JPEG that's got lots and lots of white on it, and you're putting it onto a set of PowerPoint slides, and you don't want the white background of the picture because the actual slide background is nice and colorful or whatever, then just save the file or convert it to a PNG, portable network graphic as it's called, so .png, save it as that, and then it'll get rid of the white background for you. The reason that we sorry?
Thanks, this is new thing learned today.
Again, other tangents, off we go. So in general, there are lots of different image storage formats, bitmap, PNG, JPEG, for instance, is some of the more popular ones. But in general, everyone is storing things as JPEGs at the moment. The different file name, or extension as we call it, that bit at the end, that just means that it's being stored with a different compression algorithm. So by algorithm, and I mean just a function that the computer is doing when it sees that data, it's doing something for you. So when you save a picture or like take a photo and it looks at that picture, it's a box of different numbers or different colors, so red, green, blue. Maybe it's got the sky in, so there's lots of blue and there's whites. So it's just encoding each of those little squares as blue, 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 blue. Oh, the cloud, white, 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 white. Gray, 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 gray. Oh, blue again, the other side. Oh, the sun's over there, yellow, yellow, yellow. So it's just encoding all of those little boxes, those tiny boxes inside the whole image rectangle, right? And it saves that. Now, JPEG is a compression algorithm that takes all that really, really dense information or complex information of all those different colors and saves them in a really efficient way, so that anyone who opens a JPEG can open it and see that picture. But if you just stored it like that, as all of those colors in that way, it would take up 4 to 10 times as much computer storage space as if it was stored as a JPEG, when it compresses that information and says lots of blue, area of white, area of yellow, for instance, if it was the sky again. So it does really well with compressing that data and in a almost lossless way, so you don't lose any of the fine details or high quality that you've got there. There is a chance if you take a really, really, really high quality picture, and we're talking like a fancy camera, like, you know, thousands of pounds worth of tech here, that JPEG might distort some of the information. So then they'll use a different file storage format. But in general, JPEGs are quite good. So all it is just a compression algorithm, in the same way that a .zip file is a compression of multiple different documents. If you've got loads of documents, store and compress them to a .zip file, that zip file should be less storage space or smaller in size than all of the documents added up, because it's compressed them and said, add a similarity between these and these and these and these. Okay. So, in order to insert a picture in Excel, if you use the less than 13 images file, and then click the Insert tab, and then insert the Happy Kids picture, and then save it as Insert Picture Solution. So you see, it's really quite simple. When you insert a graphic into Excel, the upper left corner of the graphic aligns with the active cell. So make sure that you choose a good cell that you're selecting first to then insert the picture, because you don't want to have to move it around all over the place. Now you can move the graphic in the worksheet without affecting any existing data or other inserted graphics as well. They can just overlay on top of each other. Now you can also insert an image via a Bing image search if you so desire. So insert and then click on online pictures and then click on the Bing search box. Okay. Does anyone use Bing by any chance? Or are we all Google users for searches?
Google.
Google.
Yeah, I'm a Google person as well. I probably shouldn't be, but it's just easy. It's tied in with everything. So I could search something on my phone, laptop, and all the other devices, and it all just pairs up. Google's search algorithm is the best in the world, right, for finding relevant features and things. Although there's an article, interestingly, that I was going to share, but it got a bit complex in the middle, where someone had looked at Google searches, and Google starting to get clever with natural language understanding, it's called. So, and Steve will teach you about this in a couple of weeks' time. But in essence, Google tries to read websites, and then when you search a question, say, what should I do if someone's having a stroke? It comes straight back and says, here's what this top website says. It says, do this, 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 and this. Now, it's an automatic machine learning or AI algorithm that's doing that. It's looking at the text in the website and then pulling back and says, I think this answers your question. And that's fine if it's all positive statements saying, do this, do this, do this. The problem is if you do search on Google for what should I do if someone's having a stroke, unless it's Google have updated this in the last 2 weeks, what actually happens is it comes back with a recommendation of a list of things to do that you should not do. Because on the website from the Stroke Society in the US, it says, do not, in big letters, and then has all of the text. And Google's natural language understanding algorithm that reads all of the words and says, that's relevant, that's relevant, that's relevant, that's not relevant, that doesn't answer your question. It ignores the bit that says do not and goes straight to the bullet points. And I think people, may follow some of those things. The last one is do not wait for ages until seeking medical help, because it just, the bullet point says wait for ages before seeking medical help underneath the do not. So as soon as people read that, I think, but that was point number 5. So things like important stuff, if someone's having a seizure, like moving their tongue out of the way, making sure they're well supported, timing it, all of those important things for making sure that someone's okay. But it just completely, it didn't understand the negative aspect of that. So, but it's still the best in the world at trying to do some of that things. It's got a long way to go before it's reliable there. So if you wanted to insert an image via Bing, then type a keyword phrase such as children eating lunch. They're big on getting kids into the spreadsheet here. And then if you click the magnifying glass, then you can search. And you can insert the same way there that you insert from a fixed file externally. Now, metadata is information stored about images, like keywords that describe the content of the image, the name of the photographer, if that's saved in the file, the type of image, the date the image was taken, the date the image was last edited. And there's other things in metadata too. So anyone, if you have an iPhone and have your location services turned on, which they are as standard, it'll also store the location in terms of GPS coordinates where you were when you took that photo. So my brother-in-law has an iPhone and is big on organizing photos and things. So he doesn't actually have to do much to sort his photos into folders and things, because he just copies his photos from his phone to his computer, reads the metadata, and it says you were in this GPS location. So it goes, oh, I know, I was on holiday in Tenerife then, because that's what the GPS coordinates say. So anything that has, and search through the metadata, anything that has that GPS coordinates in or around Tenerife, put in the Tenerife folder. If you've got your computer set up with OneDrive as well, nicely, then you can also insert an image from OneDrive account. So connect to OneDrive through your computer, and then when you're inserting an image, instead of just going through My Documents or My Downloads, the OneDrive folder will appear there. So for example, you can insert an image from OneDrive using this set of steps. Now, Microsoft offers shapes in several Office products, which are editable lines, circles, arrows, stars, and more, used to draw the user's focus to a particular part of the worksheet. You can also insert a standard text box, which is a box that may contain text or graphics, and that you can insert anywhere in a worksheet. So a text box may be used to explain complex content or provide a history of a source of data, or create some eye-catching title through the use of word art. In terms of shapes, you've got all the standard ones from Microsoft Office. So lines, rectangles, arrows, shapes, equation shapes, flowcharts, stars and banners, and some callouts too. So that would be all of these. Okay, but inserting these into a spreadsheet is just dead simple. You just go to the cell that you want and then click insert. Okay, now we've got a step-by-step here on drawing lines in there and other shapes. So I'm just going to move on if everyone's okay. Also, for adding a text box, it works exactly the same. So you can have a free text box so that if you formatted all the other cells to be grey apart from the table that you want, then having a text box here that you could just move around to exactly where you want, rather than being restricted to the cells and working in those. You then got, once you've got a text box, you've got the option to use word art. So this utilizes an extensive series of preset colored fields, drop shadows, outlines, and 3D looks. So you just, once you've got the text, inserting a text box, you can just insert word art instead of a text box here, and then do that from the word art gallery. So it might look like this. Okay. Now, in terms of formatting graphics, I'm just going to make an assumption that everyone's comfortable with, once you've got a shape in Word or Excel, that you're comfortable with formatting it, but just very briefly, once you've inserted the graphic or the image or the shape, you click on it. There's a format tab that opens up that it automatically takes you to, and then you can go to the format and automatically change it to be a different style. There are lots of these presets and recommended ones to use, and I would just go for one of those generally, as it meets the theme that you're working in Excel and keeps things in a nice color palette. Okay. Now, inside Microsoft products, and this is a really interesting thing that people generally know that you can do, but don't know how it works at all. And I think we'll come back to this in a lot more detail in a few weeks' time. But once you insert an image into Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, or Excel, you can edit or enhance the image. So to do that, you click on the image, go to the Format tab, and then you can change the color saturation, color tone, or recolor it. And interestingly, you can do things like removing the background in an image. So it will try and work out what's the foreground, like the plate in this hand, and what's the background, and just remove the background and set it all to be white or see-through. Now, the thing that actually does that is an AI algorithm. It's called a decision tree that's running on the data, and using a statistical model to do that, which is a little bit complex, but can be summarized quite easily as it's looking at all the groupings of the pixels together, of the individual bits that make up this hand, and saying, what's the chance that this hand is in the foreground? Well, the colors and things seem to form some sort of general tone and shift or change in tone around there. So that's probably a foreground item, and the background is probably the same color generally throughout, or a very similar color. Right? So that's how it tells the difference between foreground and background. So you can change the color of images quite easily to things like sepia, or to accent the blues or the grays, scale and things like that, and change the sharpness. Okay. If you need to reset a picture though, then you can just click on the reset picture button, and that then takes it back to how it was originally. But if you can't find that, just delete it and then reinsert. Now, Smart Art is something that I use an awful lot actually in PowerPoint, because I think it tells the point quite well, or gets some text onto a slide without it being too much text and stops you writing too much, but gets the point across quite easily and keeps the audience entertained generally. So you'll see when I create slides, I use it an awful lot and then talk a lot to those, because I like talking through my slides really, and whilst people are looking at them. Now in Excel, they're again less of a focus, but you can use Smart Art graphics around the data. So in order to do Smart Art, all you have to do, if you open the Smart Art file, then you can insert a Smart Art graphic. Okay, and then there are different types of Smart Art. So you've got lists, processes, so things that go from one to the next, to the next, to the next. Cycles in a full circle. A hierarchy of relationships with a boss, managers, and then team members, for instance. Things that have relationships, pyramids, just all sorts of different ways of getting text nicely formatted to tell a story or some information. So here, if you were to do that type of Smart Art that was selected on the previous slide, which is an alternating flow, it's called. So you've got some text in here and a bit of a subheading text here that then moves on to this pane and then moves on to this pane. And then that formats the Smart Art like this. Okay. You can have these being bigger or smaller as you want. You're not really restricted on size in Excel the same way you are in PowerPoint, because people can just keep scrolling right or up and down, whereas a PowerPoint slide is a fixed size to go on a screen for people to view. Okay. Final thing to talk about is adding text to pictures. So if your Excel workbook file contains pictures, shapes, diagrams, other objects, you can use the accessibility checker to locate possible accessibility issues in your files. Now, accessibility issues may arise when you've got, say, lots and lots of pictures or dense text that hasn't got a summary, but more the pictures that need a caption or a line underneath saying what they are, so that if someone is blind or partially sighted or struggles to is colorblind, for instance, as well, and they struggle to tell the difference on what's going on in a picture, they can just read the short caption underneath that tells that information. So you can add what we call alternative text as well. So sometimes abbreviated to alt text, and that will make it more accessible to people who have additional needs when working with your spreadsheets. So to add alt text to pictures, once you've inserted the picture, go to the size and properties, and then in the title you can give it a grain grow, for instance, in here, and then you'll see there's underneath each of these there's a description in the little side tab here in the format shape that people with accessibility software and additionalities on their computer and devices will then read out to them, or they'll be able to read it. So that's everything that I think we need to talk about in terms of the slides. As I say, for inserting pictures or shapes and lines and things, I'm not going to patronize anyone by going through the activities there. I'm sure you can all work it all through, but just make sure you do it at least once to make sure you're comfortable with those things. And have a think about alternative text for any presentations you're doing in the future, because we do need to make sure we're making accessible presentations, spreadsheets, data systems and things, so that people of all backgrounds and all needs are able to digest our material. Okay, does anyone have any questions on inserting pictures into a worksheet?
Nope.
No, it was clear, Ian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we'll do then, I think we've got the rest of the time obviously together till 12. So if anyone has any questions about the activity that I've given or wants to talk it through, feel free to jump right in or to type in a question in the chat, and I'll try and do our best to answer. But otherwise, if you want to drop off the call and then go and work through that, then that's fine. And I'll check in with everyone on Monday and let Steve carry on with the good work next week.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. It's probably worth saying, by the way, for those of you who are working with the smaller CSV file that I created, you'll find naturally, I just chose the first 1,000 rows. So you may find 3,000 rows, sorry. So you may find that there's less people, or might even not be any customers who spent over £1,000. There should be, but there's a chance that they might not have. So it might be that you're going to do that question on the set of activities and there's no one in the response there, but still that's fine, because it may have been. And sometimes we'll have management making decisions saying we want to contact all the people who've spent £1 million with us, and no one has, because they just don't understand their customer base. So statistically, we have to check that. So feel free to just work that through. But if you want to modify any of those little asks and say scale it down from 1,000 to 500 or whatever to make sure that you get some people in there, go for it.
Hi, Ian. I got a spill error when I was working through the 9th slide. I don't understand why.
Okay, that's potentially a new one on me. Let me, if I look at the student visa, so the 9th one being.
Sorry, let me. So lesson 9. Working with data micros. Let me try to find it again.
Are you comfortable sharing your screen, Fahima? And then
Yep. trying to find where it was. Okay, yeah. Show this. I have corrected it now by adding an @ symbol, but that was from Google. Okay.
Okay.
Do I show? Can you see that?
Yep, I can see that.
So here I was getting, so I needed to type in @ here to correct that. If I take that away,
Yeah, you've got
how do I do
two
that?
square brackets at the top. What happens if you take that out? And then hit enter?
Yeah.
Weird. If you just go onto cell K11.
Yep.
Let's just see K.
I had to do it. Well, I didn't have to do it there. It actually corrected it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Okay. So it might be that in the total sales, what I think has happened is that the table is a predefined size, and we're only looking at cells 11 to 15 of this. So it looks like when it's doing the total sales, there's more things in the total sales than is currently being shown. So when it's trying to redo that and do the averaging, it's shoving it down and then it's overspilling outside of the area that it's allowed to write into here. So it's trying to almost like copy and paste data into an area that's smaller than the pasting the original data needs to be. So it doesn't,
Okay.
so it's not working, it's overspilling. So by doing the @ sign, it's probably crimping that. And it seems to be working. So I think that's the way to follow it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So
Good morning, Dr. Rice.
hi Stephen, how are you doing?
Good. Yeah, I just thought I'd pop in and say hello.
So we've just we finished a brief presentation, the last session on Microsoft Excel certification material, where it was talking about inserting pictures into workbooks and modifying graphics inside those. It's sort of a rounding off the rest of the course and Microsoft team to think that that's an important thing to cover. So we've covered it, but we spent more time. Look, everyone's currently working through an activity on a sales data set to do some conditional operations and some summaries for us, which I think you can see in the assignment tab.
Yeah, I could see it live. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. So I've told everyone, several people have just left the meeting to go and work individually on this, but I've told everyone that you're going to be starting potentially on Monday is the plan, and moving on to the Microsoft AI material.
Sure.
So yeah.
Do you think everybody has valid Azure logins from the cloud stuff?
So everyone has access to the Microsoft Learn material, yes, and then not quite everyone, but lots of people have BCU logins now, and I'm just pressuring the admin team to make sure that we get as many people on as quickly as possible. It's just unfortunately taking time. So I'll just double check where we are with that. Yes, so we're up to 8, but we're still not. There's still a couple of people who don't have BCU logins, but those that don't have BCU logins can still access the Microsoft Learn platform, I think, for the activities and the self-directed bits.
Okay. I'll have an alternative activity just in case people have trouble getting in.
Great. It's great. Thanks, Steve.
All right, no worries.
Okay.
Have a good weekend.
Thanks. You
It
too.
looks like I may have this UKVI on Sunday afternoon.
Okay. Didn't know HR worked on a Sunday.
Well, neither do I, but there you go. I admire their commitment.
Excellent.
Anyway, I shall be off and let you get on. All
Great.
right.
Thanks, Steve.
All
Bye.
the best. Bye.